Hello and welcome to Queendom TV. Today we're going to be continuing on this journey of us unveiling and giving a different perspective on everything that took place with Jesy Nelson, who left a very popular girl group, Little Mix. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about or you're interested, then please check out my Jesy Nelson playlist. If you watch the videos in order, you'll get fully caught up with everything that's going on. But we've got so much to get through already, so I won't be going into that in here, so check that out. Today, we're going to be talking about where her downward spiral with her mental health actually started. And so I've been taking the advice of a lot of you baddies, which I must say again, another shout out to all of you guys. Thank you so much for all of you guys sending me stuff in, sending me emails. Just know that my emails and information is always going to be in the description box. I've got a little extra section under my Jesy videos for you guys to send me emails and to know where you can contact me. Also, please bear with me on Instagram and stuff. I'm not very good with Instagram DMs and all that, guys. And also, I've just been having my head in the research, catching myself, trying to get up to date as soon as possible with as much information as possible. So please bear with me. But I love you guys all for showing me so much support. I'm so appreciative. Please don't feel like you need to share my videos and stuff unless you want to. I don't want you guys to feel the pressure. I'm genuinely doing this because I honestly care about it, and like the same way that I did the previous videos, but I do appreciate it so much. Also, I wanted to say before I get into this video, I'm so glad I remembered, thank you Lord, please don't feel the need to respond back to people who are being hateful in the comment sections. Like, one of the reasons I put the email, one of you guys actually said in the email that you wanted to comment on one of my recent videos about Jesy without being harassed, and so you chose to message me via email. Please feel free to do that. That's exactly why that email is there. It's totally anonymous, unless you specifically say that you want your voice, your name or whatever to be mentioned. I won't mention any of the things that I bring up. I won't be mentioning anybody's names unless you ask for it. So feel free. Don't feel like you have to put things in the comment section down below. You might also have a lot of things you want to say and you might feel like it's a lot to put under YouTube. Feel free to send me an email. I will get back to all the emails at some point. Of course, just bear with me because I do want to do my best to actually read and look at everything everybody is sending. I don't just want to ignore stuff. So that's why it's just taking me a little while, but don't worry guys, I'm going through everything and it's so helpful, and I'm literally basing all these videos off of the stuff that you guys have been sending me. So don't feel like you need to respond to any toxic who knows in the comment section. You can ignore them. I will respond to some of them. I appreciate those of you who have, backed me up. Don't feel you have to either, by the way, please, because some people just want to be haters, But without further ado, let's get into today's video about the downward spiral of Jesy's mental health. And so you guys are going to be like, where were you when I tell you this? But I just watched Odd One Out for the first time. When it came out, guys, and for those of you who are on my channel normally, you know that I live under a rock a little bit. I just live in my own world. I don't know where I live in the world, but I miss a lot of things that happen. That's why I'm so grateful when people let me know stuff in the comments. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you for telling me. So anyway, what Odd One Out was something that kept coming up, and it's going to be a documentary I'm going to refer to. It came out in September 2019, and I'm going to refer to it in different videos. But in this video, one thing that stuck out to me, and I made sure to take notes so I could say things exactly as what they were in the documentary. One thing that stuck out to me was the fact that Jesy had said that on the day that she won the X Factor, so this was in 2011 when her and Little Mix won the X Factor, after leaving, they were all on their high of having won and it was amazing, she said that she had 101 inboxes, and the first inbox that she opened, this is what she said that it said: "You are the ugliest thing I have ever seen in my life. You do not deserve to be in this girl band. How on earth were you ever put in this girl band? You deserve to die." And this comment came from a man. And when I heard this, and she said after that she already just wanted to go back to being a barmaid. So basically, the ink had barely set, on her winner's certificate, if you like, right? And she was already now facing extreme hatred. It was one of the first things that she saw. And when I heard that, I was just like, oh my gosh, because it made me realize that from the moment her whole career was taking off, from in the moment where she was supposed to be enjoying herself, not even knowing exactly what's to come next, but just enjoying the fact that she's won, she's already being hit with such an incredible amount of hate, you know, from somebody. And I know a lot of us now are talking about, you know, the baddies and the mixers and how the toxic mixers and stuff like that, which I'm going to address that in its own video, by the way, as well. So look out for that. But you know, it even goes back all the way to then. So to me, I was thinking, so literally for her whole career, the whole time she was a part of Little Mix, you know, she was seeing that, you know. And so I'm like, that for me signifies where it all started, because she said on multiple occasions, I've heard in many of her different interviews, whether that's articles that you guys have sent me, whether those are videos that I've seen where she's done an actual, you know, interview that you can watch. She said time and time again how she was so confident. She was never questioning, you know, herself. She wasn't questioning her body. She wasn't questioning a lot of things until the hate that she got online. And I think there's so much to be said for the fact that she really stuck it out all these years, you know, and one thing that was really sad to me in terms of her mental health, that came up quite a lot, you know, and even also came up in the documentary, is she was kind of talking about how, you know, there was like, she kind of looked at the Jesy that she was that coming into X Factor, the one that she was confident in, kind of became the old Jesy to her, you know. And then she was now this new Jesy, and this new Jesy, you know, did a lot of things differently than the old Jesy. And it was interesting to hear like her family members and her friends' perspectives of like how much she changed, you know, how she used to be somebody that liked to make people laugh. She used to like, you know, she just loved being in front of the camera and stuff. And she really wasn't like looking at herself in a negative way, you know. She was kind of, to me, it seemed like she accepted herself for who she really was. And I think sometimes when it comes to mental health issues, there can be a tendency for people to look at mental health issues as something that just comes out of nowhere. And personally, maybe controversially, I don't really believe that. I think that, you know, we as human beings go through lots of different experiences. Some things we can understand and some things we can't. You know, a lot of negative behaviors that other people do is very normalized in this day and age, you know. And my faith plays a big role in why I have my faith, you know, that I believe in, because I realize that, you know, a lot of people are dealing with things that they shouldn't have to deal with. And I kind of feel like that's where Jesy was, in the sense that, you know, she was quicker, and I think it's a natural thing when you're a kind person like she is, and when you're, you know, a person who's receptive, who cares about what people think, because whether we like it or not, to some extent we all do care about what people think about us, you know. I think that's natural, and I think that in a healthy environment, you have people that build you up and support you, you know. And if society was healthier, then it wouldn't be such a bad thing. But I think a lot of people, including Jesy, have had to like build up a bigger backbone nowadays to be able to like survive what goes on in social media and how people are, you know. So I think a lot of people kind of, although because to me it's like, looking at it from where we're at now, right? We're now in 2022, right? And we're now waiting for her new music. Boys has been out for a while. She's now solo. Looking back at the beginning of things, for me, is so interesting to see that like her issues, there really was a starting point. Like, it's not like this just happened out of nowhere. And I think one thing that was hard for people to understand, and again, I want to just say in this video, and I'm going to repeat this in other videos, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. Like, I'm not here trying to start the Leanne hate train or the Perry hate train or the Jade hate train. It's not about throwing hate towards the other girls. A lot of the things that I'm highlighting to give a strong alternative perspective, because we've heard a strong perspective on one person's side. So a lot of stuff that I'm saying, I'm not trying to put hate towards those guys. I'm just trying to give another perspective of it, just to put that out there, you know. But I do think that, you know, from an outsider's perspective, me looking at the group, you know, I get that, you know, somebody like Leanne might feel a certain way about being, you know, the only person of color in the group. But, you know, or the black girl in the group. However, to me, I feel like Jesy seemed to me as more of the obvious odd one out. And a lot of that wasn't just from looking at them, because when I say the odd one out, I don't think she was like the odd one out, if you know what I mean. But I mean that there was so much more being said about her. I mean, I even saw this thing to do with Katie Hopkins. So this is fast forwarding to 2013, right, in her journey now. So it's 2011, she's won, and the first thing she's seeing, she's got 101 inboxes. First thing she's seeing is this horrible man, which again, I'm literally here asking the Lord today, I'm like, why do people do this? I don't get it. I don't get what was the point of doing that. If you didn't like her, if you didn't think she was good looking or whatever, you could have just shut up. could have just moved on. You know what I mean? I don't get it. But fast forward to their X Factor performance in 2013, the first interview after that performance. Now, the backtracking in that, Jesy took upon herself, and this is what I think is really sad, because obviously people were calling her fat. One of the biggest things that people were attacking was her body. And I'm going to talk about body shaming in its own video to do with Jesy. I'm going to make that its own whole video because there's a whole bunch of things I can say about that based on the stuff that you guys have been sending in. But I feel like, you know, she was trying to do a lot to make herself look slimmer, to make herself fit in, you know. And there was one thing that I saw in one of the interviews you guys sent me. I think it was, I'm not sure which one it was actually. Actually, I'm going to have it in my notes here. So it should have been in, I think it was the Glamour Mag one. The Glamour magazine article. One of the things that you guys sent me, she quoted how, you know, going to one of the first few fittings, like all the stuff had been brought in a size 8 and she was a size 12, which a size 12 is still 2 sizes below the average size of a female in the UK, which is a 16. So it's not like because I feel like a lot of the things that people were making her feel, the reason why I'm pointing that out in this video is because I feel like a lot of the ways that people were making Jesy feel was as if she was like this girl who's like way out of like the norm, you know, in terms of the size of her body and stuff. And so she'd already started to make an effort to lose weight. You know, she was starving herself, which is so sad to hear that she was already facing, you know, such heavy issues with her like body and already, you know, having eating disorders and stuff like that, which again shows that a lot of this stuff doesn't just come from nowhere. It comes because of something happens. You know, I really believe that a lot of mental health issues today are reactive. You know, she talked a lot about how previously she was very confident, she was very bubbly, she's very talkative. A lot of the interviews that have happened since she came solo, they're talking about that again. So it's like within that 10-year period where she was in Little Mix, a lot of the interviewers and people have said in those times that she was quiet, that she was anxious, that she was, you know, depressed. You know, I've heard a lot of the times the girls saying, oh, we've told Jesy she looks good, she just doesn't believe us. You know, she clearly there was clearly a change, because before she was in one state, right, before she was saying that her confidence was a 9 out of 10, then she's in this situation where she's a completely different person. And even her mum was saying in Odd One Out how, you know, she's sad that if she could do anything, she would take her daughter back, she would take it all away, you know, even before X Factor, and just go back to how her Jesy was before, you know. And then she's another person afterwards. So I'm just saying that she's back to herself now, you know, now that she's gone solo. So what I'm saying is that, you know, I really feel like a lot, and if you're somebody who's struggling with mental health and people are making you feel crazy, because there was something that really bothered me. I know I'm going all around the world with this, but you guys are going to follow, especially those of you baddies who already know all this information. You're going to follow where I'm going with this. But there was a particular point in Odd One Out where she was talking about how as she was struggling with her different issues, you know, and she'd stopped going out for work, you know, and they gave an example. They showed a few appearances where she hadn't shown up because she was feeling paralyzed. And this is normal for people that have experienced depression. You know, I've experienced that myself, where you feel like you can't get out of bed, like you can't do anything, right? So when she said that, I was like, oh, sis, I feel you. Been there before myself, right? And the response that she got was from the people basically was like, oh, well, this isn't acceptable. You need to maybe you need to take antidepressants, you know. And I feel like in society today, unfortunately, there are a lot of situations where people are going through situations and they need help. Like, and when I say help, I'm not referring to, like, you know, through medication, which medication has its place, don't get me wrong. But what I'm talking about is, you know, if that's something that you want to do. But what I'm talking about is sometimes people just need to talk. Sometimes people need a listening ear, because one thing that stuck out to me with Jesy is that she said towards the end of the documentary, she specifically said, you know, she didn't realize how much talking about things helps, because she'd been through so many situations within the documentary where she talked to different people. Like, she went and talked to the people from the girl that was running the classes about bullying. She'd gone and talked to the group of people who are facing that. She spoke to the young lady Sean, who unfortunately, you know, made the decision to take her life. She spoke with their parents. You know, she spoke then with that therapist. I can't remember what she specialized in, but she was helping her to, you know, like start looking at her old pictures. And they even looked at a little clip from when she was on X Factor, which she hadn't done before, you know. So having that opportunity to talk, you know, was so helpful for her. And I feel like a lot of the time people are struggling with their mental health because they don't have people to just talk to, where they can just talk and be honest, you know, and not just be met with this isn't acceptable. Because the thing about mental health as well, and this is why I really wanted to make this video, because those are people who are my usual subscribers. You guys know I'm very passionate about talking about mental health, because I feel like people are always talking about, oh, it's mental health awareness week, it's mental health awareness month. But then when it comes down to the likes of Jesy, and it comes down to the likes of so many people, we're not understanding to their situation. We're not understanding to what mental health actually looks like when we're faced with it. And I feel like when she was going through how it was expressing itself through her, you know, not being able to get out of bed, and I mean, imagine having to be on camera, you know, people are looking at every little detail. She talked about how she hated being in music videos. She hated it, you know. And for me, I was just like, imagine hating something that you probably do so much. Imagine how many videos people have watched of her, and she doesn't even want to watch those videos herself. And I've talked about stuff like that on my channel before, you know, like how sometimes, you know, artists can be so good at doing their job, you know. And this is why I think a lot of these artists and people in the entertainment industry are some of the strongest people out there, because they're putting themselves out there. They're still showing up to work. They're still showing up in their music videos looking amazing, absolutely killing it, you know, meanwhile going through this kind of stuff. So I think, you know, just the fact that, you know, her saying that talking was such a helpful tool, to me just goes to show that, you know, I think a lot of people would benefit from people, A, creating those spaces, but B, being understanding when they're going through this. Because as much as people, it seems like her team and whoever were trying to be understanding along the way, I'm hearing a lot more of, well, you need to take antidepressants because you need to work, or, oh, we need to look like a sisterhood because it's good for the brand. Not like we need to look good for the sisterhood because it's good for the brand, but a few of you guys have said, and I spoke obviously in my previous video about the sisterhood versus mean girls thing. And I'm not saying there was never a sisterhood. I just want to clarify that as well. I was never trying to say there was never a sisterhood. I'm just saying that, you know, in terms of being sisters, I feel that as sisters, there could have been other things they could have done that I would have appreciated towards the end. Because I know, for example, one of the parts, she says how she tried to leave at a certain point and everybody was trying to convince her to stay, which obviously I get that, you know, people might say that they wanted her to stay because, oh, they didn't want her to be left out, or, oh, they didn't want to lose their member. But if that was what was best for her then, they should have done that then. And I personally feel like the reason why they let her leave in the end is more just because they got so annoyed with having to put up with it more than anything. And that's why I feel like some of the animosity comes for her. So I feel like with her mental health, you know, just having to experience that on day one, it's almost like she never had a day in her career where she wasn't thinking about that. And for me, where she wasn't thinking about her body, she wasn't thinking about the fact people think she's fat. She wasn't being treated like the odd one out. And that's why I said that I can understand why she looked at herself as the odd one out. I know that Leanne tries to, you know, also come in there and, you know, say that she faced certain things from being black, although from what you guys have told me, she more tried to pull the mixed race card, which you guys will know, like, I'm not really here for trying to talk about race too much. I feel like we've gotten a bit too caught up in all the race stuff, if I'm being honest. Like, everybody goes through their struggles, everybody's facing stuff, if you ask me. I feel like in terms of Little Mix, the person I feel experienced the most being the odd one out the most was Jesy. And even like I was going to say, so back to the 2013 X Factor performance, the first interview after that performance, the first interview after she's just starved herself for a week to look slim, the first interview after she's just done everything, and she even says in the documentary, she's like, I didn't even care about and this is not me quoting her exactly, this is me paraphrasing what she said, but she was like, I didn't even care about the performance if I did good on the performance. All I cared about was people's acknowledging that I looked better. All I wanted to hear was that, oh wow, she looks so good now, you know. So even for her, she was more concerned about that, you know. Like, and imagine how crazy that is, to be so wildly talented, to be put on such a great performance and everything, and preparing to do such a great performance, and all you're thinking about is the fact that you just want people to see that you're looking better, and on whose terms are you looking better? Do you know what I mean? So that just drives me crazy. But anyway, after all of that, the lady asks her if she's seen what Katie Hopkins has been saying. And this is another issue that I have, guys, with the media. Those of you who have been on my channel, you know, and I have a whole 2 different playlists discussing the media. That's how annoyed I am with them. Because why are you bringing this to her attention? Like, I don't understand why this woman would bring, because Katie Hopkins was saying some very horrible things. I think she called her, like, I can't remember what she said exactly. I think she called her like a whale or something. I can't even remember. It was horrible. As an interviewer, why are you bringing this to Jesy's attention? Why are we adding more light to this situation? I personally don't understand why she did that. I feel like she was trying. I feel like people do this, like whether they want to admit it or not. A lot of journalists today, they have dodgy reasons why they're doing what they're doing. And I think she knew deep down, she wanted a story. Unfortunately, so many people want a story. And, you know, one thing I've been thinking about as I've been making all these videos about Jesy is how nice it would be to actually interview Jesy. You know, because we're doing all this research and we all have our opinions and everything. But then but I've also been thinking about, you know, like how I can understand why she doesn't probably do more interviews, because she's probably like, how is she going to trust people? A lot of people are just trying to dig. You know, a lot of people are just trying to have a story or get something out of her. So even still, even if she was open, maybe let's say to doing more interviews, it's like, who is she going to trust? Who is she going to trust to interview her? Because it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, people are doing things like this, and this is back in 2013, guys. Like, in terms of this journey, which as you guys can see, I'm trying my best to follow down chronologically, although I'll tell you guys now that I'll probably sometimes have to jump back a little bit and forth, but I'll try my best. But already, again, like, this is what she's having to go through, you know, so imagine how much this is just not helping. So anyway, it was after this, you know, that she really started to have more difficulties, and it really hit her, you know, facing all this stuff after she's done everything. And she talked a lot about how after this is when, you know, obviously she did what she did, you know, she decided that she didn't want to be in this world anymore, you know, and she felt like she was never going to be happy again. And again, it's like everything that she's saying and everything that she was saying, it was almost like nothing. It's nothing to do with the pressures of fame. It's nothing to do with like that it's hard to go on tour all the time. The things that were bothering her, the things that she was struggling with, is what people were saying and how much it was just in her face. And one of the things she said, and I'm glad I remember this now, thank you Lord, is that she said when they got into X Factor, when they became a group, they were all told they have to get social media. And here's another thing that I didn't like, because don't get me wrong, I believe that we should all be able to freely use social media. I don't feel like we should have to all come off social media in order to survive. That's wrong. Why can't we be better as people so that people can enjoy social media for the positives? You know, she spoke specifically about she likes to connect with her fans. She gave that as an example as to why she thinks social media is good, right? But people shouldn't be forced to be on social media, and especially for somebody like her who is experiencing everything that she was experiencing. It wasn't a good place for her, but I know what it can be like in this industry to have the pressures of showing up on social media, you know, and posting regularly and having high quality level of posts and stuff like that. Like, gone are the days even where just your smaller influencers who are not even like as famous as Jesy can just post on Instagram and feel like they can just post their normal life. There's this feeling like people feel like they have to, you know, look good. They have to do their makeup and then add filters and then get the right lighting and then do this. And they have to do all this stuff, and they'll spending like 4 or 5 hours just to post a picture of them, you know, dressed up, ready, about to go out, you know, with their friends or something. So I think that was really unhelpful. And so I think all of these things all together, and also just the fact that, you know, the other girls were not experiencing the stuff that she was experiencing. And I'm going to talk about this more separately in a video I'm going to do, talking about like body shaming and stuff. But at the end of the day, as much as understanding as the girls wanted to be, and I do believe they wanted to be understanding in the beginning, I do think that at the start, they wanted to really understand what was going on from what I've seen. But I think it's hard for people when you're not in that situation of being like somebody else, when you're not the one who's being called, you know, all these names. It's hard to understand what that's really like, you know, and how isolating that can be. And I think between that, her being automatically isolated from the girls, but she didn't have to be, because if people weren't making a big deal about it, she could have just been with the girls and it could have just been nothing, right? But having those things being said, and even like the lady, I don't know if she's a psychologist or a therapist, but she was saying on, you know, even on Odd One Out, she was talking about how, you know, a lot of the things that were affecting her was more the things that people were saying. It wasn't what she believed about herself, because as she said, she didn't really care. She was confident in herself. You know, she never really looked at a lot of things about her as negative, but it was the people saying it that was putting it in her head, you know. And so I think even as time went on, and you could see a little bit of frustration, I think, from the Little Mix girls, which is understandable, you know. They're frustrated that she didn't see herself, she wasn't happy in who she was, or she didn't believe people when they were complimenting her. There was like a clip where she wanted to redo her vocals. There was a time where she was talking about, you know, one of the outfits she was wearing, that it was baggy and it made her look like she had rolls, you know, and stuff. And I think for them, it was hard for them to understand, number one. And I think as time goes on, and this is something I think that happens with people when they're facing mental health issues, is it can be difficult to fully understand how somebody, because somebody doesn't get over something until they've gotten over it. And I think you can't expect somebody to just believe something you're saying if that's not how they feel. And obviously their 3 voices and maybe, let's say, 20 voices of the whole team and everybody, and that's just me throwing a figure out there, right, versus constantly always on social media being told to kill yourself, being told that you're a whale, being told you're the fat one, being told on the first day of all this happening that where was my little quote here? Yeah, here, you are the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, who says stuff like that? Like, who says, that's such a deep phrase. Like, that is such a deep thing to say. So I think if people struggle to understand, I think people struggle to sympathize to the extent that she needed. Maybe because when people can't see, it's like how, you know, like how people, I kind of look at it in the same way that I do when people struggle, maybe let's say with other things. It could be mental health, it could be something else, and people be like, well, can't you just stop? Or, well, can't you just believe it? It's like, no, they can't, because they're going through something serious that's having a serious effect on them, that has a root that needs to be dealt with, you know. And I think that's what she found in the end, you know, and we're going to talk more about that. I think in the end she found support, you know, through being around the people that were the good people that were around her, that helped her to have that confidence in the beginning. Being around them again allowed her to rebuild that in herself. But I think a lot of people were not really understanding enough towards her down the journey of what that's like. And I think especially for, you know, some of the toxic mixers and people who are commenting, at the end of the day, as one of you guys said, you know, in the emails, and I tried to say this, and I'm going to try and say even more, because I don't ever want to act like I know everything that goes on behind closed doors. That's why I said it would be amazing to talk to Jesy about all of this stuff, so we could just actually know her full perspective. I'm giving you guys my perspective because we've all acknowledged that this side of the story hasn't been discussed enough. So I'm going to just speak from my perspective and understanding based on what I've seen, you know, so there is at least something out there. But ultimately, we all have to understand, you know, mixers, baddies, OT3, OT4 fans, you know what I mean? Me, anybody, that none of us were really there for what was going on, and none of us were in Jesy's experience, even the people who were there. So again, as I always say with mental health, it's better that we believe people, and it's better that we try to be understanding. If they're saying it's not helping, then obviously there's something still wrong, because clearly her being in lockdown, imagine lockdown, which was such a traumatic time, you know, for the world and for so many different people, but her being away, that turned out to be a really positive experience for her in the end. And I think it's because she was able to be away somewhere where she was around people that cared and loved her, you know, and then she was able to really go back to the old Jesy, even the old Jesy that she wanted to put away, the old Jesy that she was hiding behind the mask of Jesy from Little Mix, you know. And she did that for 10 years, and that's just something that I can't even, it blows my mind that she really lived with that for so long, you know. And I think we've got to be so understanding in this day and age, and let this be your lesson. If you're a toxic mixer who's already right now thinking about leaving hate under this video, before you do that, before you leave hate under my video, before you leave hate under the comments or to something that somebody else is saying and somebody just giving their opinion, you know, think about the long-term consequences. Because as we've spoken about, and I'm going to speak about this again separately, you know, about the young man who made the decision to take his life, and he actually did as a result of the hate that came. You know, these are the things that we're coming up against. And if we're really going to push empowerment, and we're going to push being kind, and we're going to say that we care, and we're going to say that we're going to fight for justice and all of that, we need to protect each other's mental health. I don't care what we have to talk about. I don't care whether we agree or we disagree. I don't care if you think everything that I say is trash. I don't care if I think everything you say is trash. the one thing we can do is be respectful. And I shout out to the people who, there have been, you know, mixers who disagree with me, who've been respectful, and shout out to you guys, you know, and I respect that and I appreciate that. You know, it's not about us all agreeing. And I think even for Jesy, I think a lot of what she was going through, it wasn't about people agreeing with everything. It was about people treating her with respect and with understanding and acknowledging where she was coming from. You know, because I think there's a tendency in this day and age for us to always want to tell people, when they tell you their truth, you want to give them another truth. It's like, no, let her explain what she's going through. She's saying she can't come in. She's saying that she feels like she doesn't want to be on camera. She's saying she wants to leave. Let her leave. You know, let her do what's best for her. Let's not wait 10 years. And look at this. Look, how many situations are we going to have? How many situations are going to go on for over a decade or a decade with people before people get to finally get some of the justice that they deserve? Because this is just like Britney. And I'm going to keep connecting these things because I'm starting to see so many different trends of the things that people are going through. And it just seems to keep being the people who had a kind and pure heart from the beginning, who just came out wanting to do what they were good at, you know, and are getting, you know, just not even swallowed up, but attacked, you know, by just the ugliness of society and the ugliness of the industry. So that's my little conversation and discussion just on, you know, where this whole mental health spiral started, you know, and that's just like the first 2 years. And I've only really talked mainly about, you know, the stuff to do around X Factor and things that she was reflected on, but there's so much to be seen even there. And honestly, there should have been enough that there was enough just in that we should have had enough intervention at that time, so she would have never had to make the decision to try and do that same thing again, which we know did happen. So, you know, or she was getting to that. So you guys, thank you so much for all of you for, sorry, I just fumbled my words just then. You know, when your brain just like, you know, but anyway, thank you so much for watching this, guys. I'm really appreciating hearing you guys' thoughts on Jesy and everything and what's been going on. I really think, guys, let's be loving to each other. Let's be understanding. I know these kinds of subjects, they're very polarizing. I know for myself, the more I'm learning about this, I'm definitely finding myself feeling like I side with one side more than another, and that's just me being honest. But in saying that, I say that just to say that even though we might feel that way, let's be respectful. If there are people being hateful in the comments, let's just ignore them. Unless somebody has something of value to say, this is what I'm going to be doing in the comments, right? Unless I'm seeing somebody that's having something of value and is bringing something worth responding to, don't respond, because a lot of people are just saying nonsense in the comment sections, if I'm being honest. You know, and this is not just on my videos, this is on other videos that I've been seeing, and other, like on Twitter and on Instagram. So don't feel like you have to say something, guys. We don't have to address all the nonsense. You know, the main purpose of why I've been asking you guys to send me in so much stuff is so that when we're talking about stuff, we can actually talk about stuff with factual information, and for us to try and educate ourselves and look at things, you know, fairly, not to just be spreading hate for nothing. And that's why I even had to make the point in this video to say, look, this is not about spreading the Leanne hate train. This is not about spreading the Little Mix train. I'm not even saying to people that you should be choosing one side or the other. I'm just saying that I'm just presenting a lot of information that's important, you know, in favor of Jesy, because I do feel like one thing that's sad to me is that, you know, are the people that we support today, I hate that they can't enjoy social media. I hate that it's not, you know, comfortable as it should be for them to be able to reach out to their fans. And so, you know, I want to be able to speak out, give another perspective, also because she's got music coming soon. Hopefully we can put some stuff out there, some positive vibes, some positive energy, so that she can have the career that she deserves, the career she's waited 10 years to have. So other than that, guys, I will be continuing my Jesy videos every day at 9 p.m. So come in here at 9 p.m. Don't forget, all the contacts for how you can send me stuff or whatever, speak to me, reach out, are all going to be in the description box. Don't forget to subscribe if you're enjoying this content. If you only want to see the Jesy videos, and I've got the Jesy playlist you guys can check out, and I upload these videos and I put them all in the Jesy playlist in order of how I upload them. So they should be somewhat in chronological order. If you want to check out my other videos, feel free, I'll appreciate it. But other than that, I love you guys all so dearly. I thank you all so much for your support, old subscribers and new subscribers. Bear with me, y'all. I'm doing a lot of research and a lot of planning, because I want to make sure that my videos, if I'm going to be speaking about stuff, that I'm going to be speaking about it from good research. So just bear with me. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.